Hey everybody, welcome into Odd Rhythm Fantasy Studios. I'm your host Jamie, and I got my co-host Eli over there on the other side. We're hitting another college spotlight for you guys, so we thank you guys for tuning on in. That's it. That's all he's got to say.
Ah, ah, oh no. Ah,
All right,
ah.
all right. I think that's enough of that. But yeah, I know what kind of weird noises
I don't
he's
know what that
making.
was, but
He
I'm
was
pretty excited about Jaylin Noel. Doing a spotlight.
Yes, I'm sorry. Yeah, sound effects. I haven't been on my computer for about a week, and I'm not sure what happened to all the audio stuff. So I don't know. Maybe a ghost maybe was messing around with my computer. So I don't know.
That's what I'm thinking. That's damn sure what I'm thinking. But you know what? As always, got to take care of some business. Business. You can go find us over on the X. Jamie's handle's on the top, mine's on the bottom. Sounds about right. Excuse me.
Sweet
Odd Rhythm
Jesus.
fan. Yeah, there's the podcast there, Discord, and then if you want to see some naked photos of me and Jamie, go on Instagram.
Yeah, that would be. We'd probably be locked up and in jail for that stuff.
Well, we,
But,
we've been we've been we've been thinking about starting our own page. The girls have the OnlyFans. Well, we want to do OnlyMans. So we figure you gotta jump start it somewhere. But so that's all the social media stuff. Take care of that. Tonight we got a great spotlight. Got Jaylin Noel from Iowa State, the versatile kick returner, slot receiver extraordinaire. Who we happen to like quite a bit. Jamie's been telling me about this guy for a couple years. I didn't fully come on board until this year. This year I'm like, okay, I get it. I get all the. I get Jamie, slurping him up. I get it. Is it time? Is it
yeah,
time?
yeah. I mean, we can dive on in, man. That's for dang sure.
Yeah, yep. Like Jay said, we're kind of down the effects tonight, so don't have our usual stuff or playoffs. So we're gonna have to. That's right. I broke out the gavel earlier. We got to make our own sound effects. I might have to do a little drum rolling on the desk here, but whatever we got to do. Jaylin Noel, Iowa State receiver. He was only a 3-star recruit. I'm not sure what his actually, he never transferred. So I guess I'm so used to these guys transferring every year now for more money. I was thinking, Jay, what was his? You're pretty up on that. What was his transfer rating? Was he a 4-star? Was he a 5-star? But no. He was a 3-star coming out of high school. He's from Kansas City. The graphic I have up there has got his high school stats. Nothing too extraordinary, but he sure let the people in the Midwest know how good he was. I think Nebraska was coming after him initially. K-State and Iowa State ended up picking Iowa State, and that was the right move. When he first got there, his freshman year, wasn't he playing with Brock Purdy?
Yeah, he was with Brock Partey.
Partey.
And Brees Hall too. So
yeah. Excuse me, coughing up that bullshit. Yeah, Brees. Yeah, Brock Purdy. And then later on, his running mate, the other guy that's going to be taken probably in a similar range in the NFL draft here in a couple weeks, Jaden Higgins. So he had him as his running mate. You could argue that was one of the best 1-2 receiver combinations in the country for this past year. And then Rocco Becht wasn't too bad himself, the quarterback. So Iowa State had some good stuff going on. They were playing basically in the Big 12 championship game. If they had beat Arizona State, they would have been in the playoffs. So it was a damn good year for Iowa State. I just have a few of the miscellaneous stats. I'm going to put up another graphic here that's going to have the good stats. Here we go. Bam, switch it over here. Rushing, he wasn't really much of a rusher. I actually probably should have put his kick return. He was a all Big 12 kick returner, punt returner for this past year. I think he made second team in 2023. So in the kicking game, he's been phenomenal. Rushing it, nothing to write home about. Just a stat to throw in there. Receiving, Spent shocking. I know, for all 4 years, just like our last guy, Jaylin Noel, spent all 4 years at the same school, Iowa State, and you kind of see everything got better year after year after year. Had I think I read somewhere, Jay, where it said 39 catches for 269 yards. So I don't know if he had an imaginary catch for 4 yards. Wasn't
Yeah,
tallied.
I don't know. That would be
Yeah,
news
so
to
I've
me.
read both. I've read 38 catches for his freshman year, and I've read 39. So we're gonna go with the 38. No touchdowns his first year. Modest freshman year. A lot of guys are redshirting or they're sitting on the bench their first year, so that's not too bad at all. Second year got a little bit better. 87 targets, 60 receptions. About 3 touchdowns, a little under 600 yards. Not too bad. 2023 I think that's when he became, especially in the Big 12, became a name to recognize. You better recognize, had 92 receptions. I'm sorry, 92 targets on 66 receptions, 820 yards, 7 touchdowns. And then this past year, he was the number 14 fantasy receiver. It's when he blew up on the national scene, in my opinion, along with obviously his week at the Senior Bowl. Everybody knows about how much he was tearing it up there. But
Yeah.
had 125 targets. Jay,
I mean,
he had Higgins.
100,
He had
125?
Higgins too. It's not like he was, it's not like Noel was like the clear cut number one. I mean, he
Yeah.
had. I mean, these two were studs. I mean, these two are studs. They're going to be taken. They're going to be like early, either late day 2 picks or early day 3 picks. I mean, these are going to be guys on NFL rosters. I mean, Higgins and Noel, like they're 2 damn good receivers, and he still managed to get 125 targets. So that just tells you.
Hopefully this isn't a repeat of a Jalen Hyatt and the other guy that went.
Cedric Tillman.
Yes.
Tore it up in college and then shit in the NFL or mediocre. Yeah. I hope not. I like these two. I'll be honest. I like these two a lot more than I like Hyatt and Cedric Tillman. I don't know whatever the hell Hyatt might get cut this year. Who knows? But yeah, he had 125 targets, 81 receptions, almost 1,200 yards, 8 touchdowns, and then when you throw in what he does in the kicking game, just guy was phenomenal. I'll get more to the landing spots in the next graphic and kind of in a few minutes here, but yeah. Oh, we got to change the color up. We got to try to. We got a highlighter. We got the highlighter yellow going on. I like that. It kind of matches a little closer to the Iowa State gold that we got, or the yellow. So I like that. Jay's just gonna keep messing with the colors while I'm talking. We'll find it eventually. Maybe I'll use my T-shirt. I don't know. Maybe my T-shirt will yellow enough. I don't know. You know what? I'm gonna throw something up here. I think everybody good. Everybody good. Nobody's good because it's there's no watch along here. Okay, you're gonna come across this later. It doesn't matter if you've seen enough of this because I'm pulling it down. So I'm putting up the next one. Bam! There we go. There we go. So I use 3 sources to determine kind of where I think he's going to go in the draft. And PFF, Draft Buzz, Bleacher Report, sometimes, CBS Sports. There's I'll mix ESPN on occasion. So, but yeah, these are usually my main 3. And all of them have him ranked as a top 10 receiver in this draft. I don't think that's debatable. I think at worst, yeah, number 9, 10, in this draft. And, some people, including myself, I mean, I like number 7. I like the Draft Buzz. I like that they have him a receiver 7 and prospect number 60 overall. PFF 86 overall, and then Bleacher Report has him 65 overall. So, and they're a little bit higher on receivers, Bleacher Report and some of these other sources, but he's a projected 3rd round pick. And there's nothing. I mean, think about it. Amon-Ra St. Brown, 4th round pick, USC slot receiver. Happens to be one of the best receivers in the league now. You can, just let's go down the list. Let's name your favorite slot receiver. Khalil Shakur from the Bills, 5th round pick. Boom. The list. Who am I missing here? We got.
We got Josh Downs.
Josh Downs from the Colts, third round pick a couple years ago.
Yep.
yeah. So yeah, I guess I'll stop there. They're not as obvious as CeeDee Lamb was a first round pick, obviously, but you get my
Yeah.
point. Like there have been starter guys that have hit that have been third, fourth round picks. So there is nothing wrong with him being a projected third round pick. His combine stats were damn good for a receiver. He I think he had the most bench presses from what I remember. I think some of the other drills he did, he was the best. So 5'10", 194. Don't he's gonna be a slot guy. He doesn't
Yeah.
need to be fucking To out there or DK Metcalf. He doesn't need to be some physical freak out there on the outside. He's gonna be a slot guy. I think 5'10", 200 pounds, 195 is perfect. Runs a 4.39 40. I mean, you saw him running away from all those Big 12 teams this year. Every time he'd catch one, he'd be gone.
Yeah, it all depends. I mean, with some of them, like I mean, like Iowa, that's always going to be a big rival. At home or at Iowa. I mean, he had a pretty good game for week 2 there up against Iowa. They were, you know, week 2 five for 133.
Is that Delilah? Jamie's dog's barking at somebody. Somebody's in trouble. Excuse moi. But Jay was making a point. He was talking about some of the teams coming up here.
Yeah.
And the graphics going to show. It's along the ticker there.
Yeah, just keep
When he was
talking. Hang on
born,
just a moment.
hometown, some of his
Yeah.
accolades, fantasy rankings, and then it'll get to that Iowa game he was talking about. Had a big first couple weeks. Honestly, he was one of the top fantasy receivers after the first, I'd say month of the season. He was right in the mix with all these guys. Yeah, look at his stats against North Dakota. 8 catches on 8 targets, 135 yards, touchdown. Iowa, 5 receptions on 9 targets, 133 yards, touchdown.
Yeah, I mean, he didn't really. I mean, he he had 500-yard games. I mean, you can kind of see with some of the games, some of the teams he was playing.
Yep.
And I think Noel overall, he won't be an outside guy. He'll be your slot guy. Maybe he might be he might play maybe a couple of times outside, but probably all not that often, honestly. But I mean, overall, I mean, I like what the guy offers. I mean, he won't bring a lot of home run speed. His route tree is a little limited, but I mean, he just for being a slot guy, he just pretty much cut couple routes here and there. I mean, he can totally break tackles for sure. But a lot of it's going to come. Yeah.
Jay, you damn right he's gonna be breaking tackles at the next level. I mean, the guy, he's just a little tank.
I like what he brings to the table. I just think there might be a little bit of downside to him, just a little bit, just because of his size a little bit. But I mean, I was just looking at some of the Arizona State. They kind of pretty much shut it down. He had a touchdown against them, but I think that a lot of that too is we're going to see a lot of that too, and we might see a little bit of inconsistencies here and there. But that's going to be typical with some of these rookies coming into a lot of these classes. They're going to have the talent, but it's going to come down to the landing spot. Is honestly, but I mean, I like Noel. I mean, out of the slot guys are coming out. I mean, I'll actually take him over a few other guys that are actually in the slot position. Let's put it that way.
I would too. I think he's the top slot receiver in this draft.
Even over Tez Johnson now? Do you think he's even better than Tez?
I would. Yeah. Let me look at the camera when I say this because this might end up as a short. Pause. Record. I would take Jaylin Noel over Tez Johnson 7 days a week, twice on Sunday. 10 out of 10, 11 out of 10. Take him in. I'll take him to IHOP. I'll take him to Denny's, whatever. Like. Yeah, this is the best slot receiver in this draft. Okay.
Yeah, because I was looking.
Iowa State. I was going to say quick. He's in the top 4 in 3 major statistical categories in his career too. So he had a damn. What wasn't a. Every year increased, but he was. He was active all 4 years. He was a contributor all 4 years, including that freshman year, which we know about with Purdy, and I think Brees might have still been there as well. That was that offense should have been lethal. Honestly, if you think about it, Iowa State should have been. I think they were a top 15 team, but they should have done more. But no, he was second all time in receptions, third all time in yards, fourth all time in receiver touchdowns. And you know what? The comp here, Jay's going to have his, when he brings his points up here in a few minutes, he's going to have maybe his floor is kind of most likely, kind of average, and then he might have his, his ceiling. So I don't, the vibes I get, and some of it's based on, I remember Christian Kirk at Texas A&M. Like Christian Kirk was he was dynamite. I mean, the guy was All-American at any position you could think, right? Christian Kirk, All-American, projected to be, you know what I mean? Receiver, kick returner, punt returner. He just a weapon. Like Christian Kirk at Texas A&M, weapon. Gets to the NFL. I know Christian Kirk's only had 1,000-yard season, but he's been consistent. I mean, he's not flamed out of the league. I mean, he got a nice contract from the Jags. I know they let him go to Houston, but had some nice seasons down in Arizona, had some really nice seasons in Jacksonville. And the Texans are gonna, they're basically swapping out Stephon Diggs with him. We'll see what he can do with Nico and Tank Dell. But Christian Kirk is the vibes I get. Similar size. Kirk's about, I think, 5'11", 200 pounds. So Noels like close, 5'10", 195-ish. So they're similar in size, similar in 40 times, similar in skill set. And Noel, I don't think he's going to be an all-pro receiver. I know I said he's going to be the best slot receiver in this draft. I don't think he's going to be up at the level of like CeeDee Lamb or, some of the outside guys that put up the stats, obviously JJ, Jamar Chase, guys like that. But, if he could put together a career like Christian Kirk, maybe have like one really good fantasy year and maybe, 3 or 4 other really good ones. I'll take that for a 3rd round pick.
Yeah, I mean, in a 3rd round, that's great value too, as well. I mean, if he's there, depending on the team landing, yes, I will actually draft him. I mean, some of the mock drafts, from my scene, that I've seen anyways, that we've done, he ends up being in the 3rd round more likely. So I mean, maybe a late 2nd-ish, depending on if he lands in a good friendly team, more than likely, but 3rd round mostly overall. And the other quick thing too I want to say is, Jaden Higgins, he had 138 targets, compared to, and almost, really consistent, so I mean, barely just a few targets in between these two guys. And, Higgins, he had a little bit more of the upside with the touchdowns, 500-yard games too as well. But I mean, with these two guys on side by side, I mean, these guys are just a duel, just ready, just tearing it up. You know what I mean?
Jay, let's repeat that for all the people that come across this. 263 targets between 2 receivers. 263. Yep. Imagine if they had Tyler Warren. Imagine if Iowa State had, or even a really good, a Gadsden or like Koziel from Ball State. If they had a tight end like that, like dude, oh my God, Like they would have been, they definitely would have put up just as good of a fight as Arizona State did in the playoff for sure.
Oh yeah, I mean the
fantasy stats, like Rocco Beck could have been a top 10 fantasy quarterback if they had got a little more production from the other guys. But these 2 studs, 263 targets. Yeah. Jaden Higgins might be a guy that we do. He might be up the river too. He might be up the pipeline. Yeah. Maybe we'll do both Iowa State receivers. I think the first time we've done 2 players from the same team.
Well, just to think about this, Higgins, he was, 7th overall in fantasy points. Noel was 10th overall in fantasy points. Higgins, was averaging about 20 points a game. Noel was averaging about 17. So I mean, it just give or take on the team who they were playing, who ended up with the touchdowns, and game scheme and stuff like that. So I mean, both these guys were in the top 10 when it came to fantasy.
Yeah, just insanity. What was my mind?
I mean, to think about it, I mean,
we have a couple different sources. Like I'll use like fantasy data. I think Jay used a different source. So it just depends on the format of the league. Some leagues, like this had him at averaging like over 12 points. The one Jay's referencing was 17. So it's based on the format. Like with the NFL, if it's PPR, half PPR. There's
Yeah,
so
and
many
and
different
this is
formats.
mostly PPR leagues because
Yeah,
the leagues that we are in that we do, I mean, it's all PPR. And just to think about that, I mean, Higgins and Noel, we're up there with guys like with Jeremiah Smith, Ty Felton, McMillan, Pritchett,
Ricky White.
yeah,
Yeah, all those guys.
Devontae Ross, a Troy guy,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
I mean,
Who's
Restrepo,
who's gonna be tearing it up with Penn State this year? Yeah, Restrepo. He'll be probably a third round pick in the draft from Miami. So he
my
was with some
dog,
heavy. Oh,
my
both these
dog
guys
is
were with some. Oh,
my dog is
dogs still barking.
But yeah, the guy downstairs is getting her all riled up. She was barking earlier and must have had somebody come over and
Probably
door
thought it
was
was me.
probably she was just going at barking. So I was like, what the hell's going on? So she kind of was barking again briefly or something. So I'm like, God damn it. Not
Right,
during
we're
our
trying to
recording.
we're trying to stream. Damn it.
But it is what
No,
it is. But yeah, I
yeah.
mean, I like Noel. I mean Higgins was another guy on our list that we kind of want to talk about, try to get done before the NFL draft happened, and it's getting come around the corner. We're gonna try to get out a few more spotlights, as many as we can. So that's our plan.
And just the stuff that stood out to me was I know I think you're kind of questioning his home run ability. I
Yeah,
don't. I think he's going to create a lot of. I think he's going to create a lot of mismatches out of the slot. I really do. I think he's
I
deceptively quick. He's
I think
deceptively strong.
it's I
He's
think it's going to come down. I mean, I kind of agree with some of your points. I mean, I agree with that, but I think it's going to come down to teams like Baltimore that are, that will be, they're going to be able to
scheme
stop a
him up.
guy like,
Yeah,
yes, but I think he'll be able to pop with some of the teams, that are more lenient, that are more
the
friendly to.
Rams and Vikings. Yeah, I
Yeah,
get what you. Yeah.
yeah, so that's my point on him. I think we're not gonna see a whole lot when it comes to the stout defenses. He might struggle a lot more compared to a lot of the easier defenses where he can actually maybe explode for games like that.
That being said, Jay, let me get my final before we switch him more to the fantasy side. I tag him in. There we go. Tag team back again. We'll do the 5 landing spots. I'll see if you have any thoughts, and then we'll get into the fantasy. Yeah, get into the
Yeah.
fantasy stat. Let's get into the fantasy stats, and then we'll wham bam. Thank you, ma'am. Out the door.
Yes.
Jags picks, and so I do it by the rounds too, like who has a pick in that, because we're projecting a third round pick. Obviously, it'd be stupid for me to put, oh, I have the Bills taking him in the 5th round. That makes no sense. So I'm calling my shot, third round pick. So I did all the teams that are currently, unless they trade out of the spot, have picks in the 3rd round. Jags pick 70, 3rd round. Basically, he's Christian Kirk to me. He's the same guy. It might take him a few years to get as good as Christian Kirk, but same guy. He's cheap. I mean, you got to find cheap labor. You're paying that damn Trevor Lawrence $55 million a year. Okay, yeah, over $200 million guaranteed. He's not that good, so you need cheap labor that can play. I don't know why they. Actually, I do, because they can't afford him, but I don't know why they let go of Evan Ingram too. But they had to get rid of Ingram and Kirk, so they need some cheap labor. I think he'd be a perfect fit in Jacksonville. 2nd pick, Panthers. It makes sense. I guess Adam Thielen's still technically their slot. I don't know if he's going to, he's kind of on the waiver. Like if he's going to be maybe traded with, during the draft or something, or, I wouldn't cut him. I mean, Adam Thielen was productive last year. He's still good in the locker room, but you get my point. Adam Thielen's, I think it's going to be 35 this year. Can't, rely on him for the future. They got a couple nice young receivers that we like. Jalen Coker, the rookie from Miami from last
Yeah.
year.
Yeah. Yeah. He kind of came along, which was kind of nice.
Xavier Legette, the rookie from South Carolina from last year. So a couple younger guys that might have a future. And if Bryce Young can take the next step in his progression, I think you need a nice slot guy. And Jaylin Noel, I think, could be that guy for the Panthers at pick 74. Do you have any thoughts, Jay?
I mean, Panthers are always going to need somebody, and I believe, let's just Thielen might be a guy on the outs possibly. I
Could
mean, he's
yeah.
been, it's just possible. I mean, they had a lot of, they actually have a lot of young people there. I mean, they got some good talent. Leggett, I love Leggett there. I mean, that could probably kind of sparked a little bit there, and adding a guy to Noel to this Panthers team, I would not hate it. I mean, talk about a super friendly, team where he can see point, kind
Oh
of like
yeah, because
kind of like the
there's no
Jaguars situation. He can jump in right away and be a contend, not contender. He can jump in and be
he could
involved right away.
well yeah, both these situations because okay, so the Jags number one is what, Brian Thomas Jr. So he's going into the year as their number one receiver. So
Yeah.
who's their number two? Like Parker Washington? Get out of here. So Jacksonville, he's got a chance to get some targets. Panthers, he definitely had a chance to get some targets. I
Yeah.
guess you'd maybe pencil in Xavier Leggett as the number one receiver going into the year. Especially if they move off Adam Thielen.
Yeah, I mean, they have, a bunch, TJ Luther. I mean, he's kind of been
Yeah,
around. I mean,
they're bunch of randos. Like we don't talk about
David
number 5,
Moore, who's been
6 receiver.
around for a long time.
David Moore. David Moore actually I actually started him in fantasy in one of the dynasty leagues we used because I was so desperate last year. But he actually had a few decent weeks. I like me some David Moore.
Yeah, I was just looking at team stuff here. I
Yeah.
mean, Diami
He's
Brown, who bounced. I mean, Gabe Davis still around. I still wasn't a fan of Gabe Davis.
No,
Parker,
no.
I mean, we talked about our boy Joshua Cephas. Joshua Cephas. I mean, I
Is
love
he still
him.
on the Jags roster?
Yeah, he is.
That's great. That's
Yeah.
good. We love some Josh Cephas.
Yeah, I mean, if they can get him involved, dude, I would love to see that, man. I mean, it's been a minute
Be a
since we've
great
seen
story.
him.
Be a great
Yeah.
story too. Undrafted free agent, works
Yeah.
his way up the depth chart, and then
Yeah.
and Jacksonville's a perfect spot. They're going to be probably a shit team, and for a lot of these receivers, a lot of these young guys coming in, I think Jacksonville is a great spot because Brian Thomas Jr. is the one, and then after that, it's it's open field.
Yeah.
Bengals, I put at team 3. Andre Aceves, he's penciled in as the slot right now. I'm not buying that. They need cheap labor. This kid's a rookie. I was reading that Noel would actually probably work best with somebody like Burrow, somebody with somebody that is willing to stay in the pocket and get him where he needs to go at the last second. So I think that's like an underrated fact about Noel is where you can because Burrow, I mean, you could argue he's pretty much a made man. I mean, he's calling the shots there. If he makes the call, he's like, hey, I want T Higgins. T Higgins, sign him up. Jamar Chase, sign him up. He tells them, hey, take this Noel kid, pick 81, third round. I need a slot guy. I think he could, eventually beat out Eusebius and be, possibly a starter. I think the Bengals use 3 receiver sets, so he could beat him out for sure. I like that spot too. He's it's a lot of mouths to feed there. You got 2 of the best receivers in the league, obviously 2 highly paid receivers, but that would be an option. Patriots at 4. Pick 77, third round, the 4th team here. I like Demario Douglas. The kid they drafted a couple of years ago. I think Demario's had a few nice seasons. They might want to consider an upgrade though. Just somebody a little more dynamic, and I think that'd be Jaylin Noel. So I had him there, and the Patriots need body. Patriots need bodies, man. Like they don't have a clear cut number one. They just I know there's like
they just right. I mean they got Diggs, they have Douglas.
That's what I'm saying. They don't have a clear cut number one because Stephon Diggs is shot. I said it.
Dun, 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 dun.
He's shot. Yeah. Dun, dun, dun. Here we
go. I know. I mean, they got some talent though. I mean, Javon Baker, we covered him last year. I mean, from UCF.
What talent you talk? They got nobody to help Drake May. What are you talking about talent?
Our favorite guy that we talked about is Kayshon Boutte.
The booty man. I'd rather have the boogeyman than the booty man.
I mean, Boutte was kind of coming around just a little bit, but I mean, you got to think about this. The Patriots were under a new regime and different staffing, and I don't know. They might look a whole different. Noel could help in this case. Maybe, who knows? I mean, maybe Baker is out and goes somewhere else. But I mean, because Javon Baker was kind of a slot guy,
We
outside
liked
guy
him.
ish. Yeah,
Yeah, we
of
liked Javon
course.
a lot coming out last year.
Yeah.
UCF.
I mean, the downside is, Butte. I mean, with Butte being there, we thought, he's a taller guy coming from, another, LSU
LSU.
team. Figured he'd be another guy that would, regime with the wide receivers that are coming out from LSU. But let's not talk about the guy, I was loving that was down there with the Panthers. But Terrence, yeah.
Terrace Marshall. Oh, okay. That's what I'm saying. This guy shouldn't be rostered. What?
Yeah.
What?
No, he's not there,
No.
but I'm just saying, I was just talking about
Yeah.
LSU in general.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Get him out of here. The Patriots are like the lane. It's like rush hour traffic. The lane is clogged up with a bunch of day 3 average receivers. So maybe Noel could work his way, past these guys. So I put them in there, and they need bodies. They need help for Drake May. 5 Steelers. Calvin. I don't mind Calvin Austin as the slot guy there. But they need some weapons. They just even if they put Noel his first year as the kick returner, just somebody dynamic that can maybe return a couple kicks for some touchdowns.
I think Roman Wilson
back up Calvin Austin his first year. Just some kind of dynamic. They don't like DK. I don't know. DK I think is overrated. I don't really know about that addition too much. And who the hell are they going to play quarterback? Are they gonna draft drafted Jackson Dart? Are they gonna take our boy Jalen Milroe? I don't know where they need help. They don't need any help on defense because we know all the studs they have on that side. But
Mason Rudolph's not going to do it for me. Skylar Thompson from Miami is not going to do it for me.
Mason Rudolph. He had a few nice moments with the Titans. I think he's better than Will Levis, to be honest. But yeah, he's not going to go back to Pittsburgh and get the starting job. This is our quarterback of the future. Get lost. No, that ain't going to happen. So these are my 5 landing spots. Most likely, and he's been connected to these teams from the reports I've read too.
Yeah.
I know.
I mean, I guess
Panthers, Jags, and Steelers are like the heavy 3 that
I know.
Contact. So
I guess it's going to come down. I mean, Roman Wilson, he was kind of a slot guy from Michigan.
Roman Wilson's gonna. I'm out on him after a year. I know you liked him coming out of Michigan, Jay, but I
had my one share of that guy, and I'm trying to ship his.
You're trying to ship his ass out the door.
I'm trying to.
Trying to do one of those Amazon returns at Kohl's. You're like, fuck this.
Oh shit, wrong place. God damn it. FedEx, come get this guy, please.
Yeah, come get your package.
But yeah, I mean, these are Eli's 5 landing spots. Just give you our overall thoughts, and some fantasy relevant teams that he could produce some fancy points for you, and if he lands in one of these teams. But these are just all options and teams that need wide receivers and whatnot, and I like it. I like it.
Bengals, if he ends up in Cincinnati, I like that a lot because Joe Burrow could throw for 5,000 yards.
I know. I mean, Drake May. I mean, I like May too, and I think I think this year might be a year. I mean, Drake May. We saw what he did to down to North Carolina. I mean, he can sling it if he needs to.
Yeah, May.
Oh, I like May a little bit more than the other 2 landing spots with the Panthers and the Jags.
Yeah, Trevor Lawrence is trash. This year we might finally put Bryce Young over Trevor Lawrence. That's how much trash Trevor Lawrence is. But
yeah,
what do you got for the Dynasty side? Here we go.
Yes, the Dynasty side of things. Yeah, I mean, this was it's been a minute for us to kind of get in the wraps of things. But I mean,
I was on sabbatical.
I mean, Joe. I mean, Noel, 500-yard games. He had a couple games against, Iowa. He put up a couple good stats. 5 for 133. UCF 8 for 53, no touchdown, and Kansas, 8 for 167, 2 touchdowns. So I just think a lot of it's gonna come from him with the friendly team defenses for him to, see stats like this. The more like you know the UCF, not the UCF, but the Arizona State game, you know, you know, 5 for 64 and a touchdown. The tougher defenses will see stats like that against Noel. So I mean, I think it's going to be a lot of that. You saw from week 14 there, 1,077 yards, some touchdowns. That's without not the playoffs and everything else like that. And he was still averaging, for 14 yards per catch, 72 receptions. So I mean, that's still a high average for a guy like him.
I don't I don't see it in your weaknesses, but I got to point this out. His catch rate is low. I think he drops a lot of balls.
Yeah, I
And
was trying to see. Yeah, that was the other thing too. I was going to
and
try to see
well
if he had any drop balls.
that
So
that worries me a little bit. That'd be like my one concern with him. I like a lot of the intangible stuff. I like a lot of the skill set, but he's got to clean that up. I don't know if he needs to wear gloves or glue on his gloves, get some of that Gorilla Glue,
yeah,
but something, man, because he dropped. There was a lot of. I mean, just look at the bottom there. There's a lot of games where he's targeted. Utah right there, 5 for 10.
yeah.
And there was a lot of games he was only catching half the targets. So
Yeah, and I think that's going to be the thing. He had a lot of great games against smaller schools. I mean, he is a chain mover. I just think his challenge is going to have, just against tougher defenses in the NFL. But I mean, he will be, a mostly slot guy. He might play. Who knows? He might be. He might play a little bit. Some special teams too, a little bit. I mean, he
yeah,
did do some of
I
that
would
stuff too as
encourage
well.
that. I
Yeah.
think he'd be, especially his first. Wasn't Antonio? Before Antonio Brown went crazy. Wasn't his first year like doing kick returns for the Steelers or something, or punt
Yeah, it was
returns?
either it was probably punt returns, probably more than likely. Yeah,
Because
I think it was punt
AB was a
returns.
5th-round pick.
Yeah.
So maybe this could be a way for Jaylin to get on the field his first year. While he's learning the ropes, and maybe they're cleaning up some of the because he does have a limited route tree and the hand issues. Like maybe a team is going to work with him
Yeah.
on those things, and then so in Dynasty, are that's my question, Jay. Are you looking at this more of like, okay, first year, I could maybe have him on my bench, or are you looking at like, hey, 2026 is when I'm thinking this guy might hit. I'm going to keep him on a taxi squad, practice squad.
I think it's all gonna. I mean, I know I left a couple guys on my Texas squad this year. I thought, maybe some other rookies and stuff like that, and it's gonna come down to how your league is set up. I mean, if you don't want to start this guy right away, or if you bring him up later on the year, I think it's gonna. I don't think it's gonna be kind of a wait and see. Some people might just leave him on the bench right away, not even have him on the practice squad. So I think I think it's gonna come down to that individual players if they're going to want him there or there. I mean, to me, I might just leave him at the taxi squad, just for now, and kind of see how training camp goes, and you see if he's getting any, buzz or anything like that. And
Yeah.
if he doesn't, maybe, I'll probably just leave him right there and just kind of see how he does the first year. And if not, if he does maybe pretty well, maybe, sell him off or something like that. But it all depends if you like the guy too. But that's my thought on him. I mean, we got some, his strengths, yak ability. I mean, he's got some
Yeah,
reliable
yards after
hands.
catch.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Special
Absolutely.
teams, he's got that short, quick, quickness to him, which is, useful for, slot guys production, which we all kind of like that. Weakness is going to be a limited size, a little bit of, catch radius, limited route tree. That's going to be his downfall. And I mean that non-vertical threat. So he's not going to be really an afterburner down there just because of his, limited route tree, but, slot only role. So that's going to be his kind of his ups and downs when it comes to that. But if you think about it, I mean, 10 receptions over, 20 plus yards this last year, which is, us is like,
That's
damn,
good.
dude.
Yeah.
Yes. The red zone targets, so I take that measurement between the 20-yard line, on down all the way down to the 10-1 or whatever. So it's all those red zone targets, combined. So he had 13 receptions in the red zone, 6 touchdowns, so he was
So
kind of
he's
targeted about 16% ish. So I
so he's
mean,
good. So Jay, he's good in the red. I mean, 6 touchdowns. He's good in the red zone. So he's.
Yeah,
I think he's money in terms of. I don't know how many receptions in the NFL, but I mean, he could be a touchdown guy.
he could be a guy that you maybe kind of flyer on like a DFS play, maybe
Yeah,
like
yeah,
that.
yeah. DFS. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. 6 receptions per game, with Higgins being on the side too, he probably was seeing a little bit more. So I mean, 16% of target share with the Cyclones, with everything all combined together there. So I mean, not, not the true guy, but you can kind of see that's kind of wide receiver 2-ish, stats there. You can put it that way. Even though he had 1,000 some odd yards, but the wide receiver 2 role kind of thing, you can see that, with Higgins, Chase and whatnot. So I mean, those are for me. I like that's what I like, and I'm like, ooh, only if he lands in the right spot. But I mean, overall, he's got a 5 across the board. For me, anyways, late second, maybe, maybe for fantasy rookie drafts, if he bumps up in the right team, I can see him maybe jumping up, because I would actually draft him over Restrepo, Jalen Lane from Virginia Tech, Jimmy Horn from
Yeah.
Colorado,
Yep.
and Pritchett from South Alabama.
Yeah. All,
I was kind of
3 or
debating.
4 definitely.
Yeah, I was kind of debating between Tez. I mean, he's still got, yeah, I mean, his 40 time was kind of like, so I'm like,
He wasn't a
but
burner. I mean, that was. I mean, as small as Tez is, like that was his one trump card. Could have been if he had just had a blazing 40. He didn't,
yeah.
and so he's not. There's no way he jumps Jaylin Noel. Like that
I
won't
mean, I
happen.
mean, I mean, just a few other teams quick. I mean, Chargers could, they need some help too. I mean, Chargers could be a landing spot for him with him,
Oh yeah.
because they have
Definitely.
Herbert. The Rams possibly, he could play that slot role pretty well.
Yeah.
Um,
McVay would have fun with him.
yeah,
Oh, definitely.
the Bills and Packers. I mean, other two teams, they might need a little help too as well. So those are some other teams
I think
that I,
he played. I mean, we remember that K-State Iowa State snow game from
yeah,
was it 2 years ago or so and we know this guy can play in cold weather. So you go up to Buffalo or Green Bay. I don't think there'd be any issues there.
yeah.
He's from Kansas City. It gets cold there. So
Yeah, for sure. And so kind of get things wrapped up here.
yep.
Fancy outlook for his fantasy ceiling could be a Ramon St. Brown light or a Tyler Boyd prime. 85, 95 catches. 90, 100. 900 yards, 4 to 6 touchdowns here or there.
So, yeah, Tyler Boyd. People forget. I mean, kind of before he became a journeyman. His first few years with the Bengals before
Yeah,
Chase and Higgins arrived, he was pretty much their number 1 receiver.
yeah,
Number 1, number 2 receiver. So Boyd had I think he had 1 or 2,000 yard. So yeah, have a career like Tyler Boyd, a fantasy career like him. That nothing wrong with that either. Christian
no,
Kirk, like I said, ultimate ceiling, like you were saying, I'm on Ross St. Brown. Like
yeah.
that'd be wishful thinking if he could be that good. But
Yeah, mid it'd be kind of like a Josh Downs, Rondale Robinson, a wide receiver 3 or 4
Rondale
with,
Moore.
yeah, Rondale Moore, yep. With,
I'd hope he
with
doesn't end up like Rondale.
yeah, with the week, so I mean, you have a weekly flex upside to him,
Yep.
and useful in PPR leagues, less valuable in standard leagues, and the floor kind of be a Greg Dortch or a Trent Taylor, pretty much a special team or gadget wide receiver kind of thing, and that's be a 6th or 7th on the depth chart, so
I
be,
think that would be like the for sure floor. Like he's gonna make an NFL roster. Like he's gonna get. It just matters. Is he going to be the number 2 receiver for a team, or is he going to be the number 5 receiver?
Yeah,
That's kind of the only thing that we need to figure out as fantasy owners is, where is this guy going to end up on the team's depth chart? Like he's not going to flame out and be out of the league or get cut, after his first year or something, something crazy. Like he's, I think he's solidly, so if you draft him and even if you have to stick him in, in the taxi squad for a while, let him bake. Maybe I think it's a pick I would definitely make. I don't think you're going to go wrong with Jaylin Noel.
No, I don't think so at all. For the slot guys coming out, I think he's probably the prepared. A lot of people are gonna be like, "Oh no, you would actually draft him over, Tez Johnson." I'm like,
damn
yeah,
right,
probably
yeah, I said it. I'll say it again. I'd take him over Tez Johnson any day of the
uh,
week, son.
Yes, but yeah, I mean, we gave you guys in a kind of overlay of your Jalen Noel. We gave you guys some fancy outlooks, with what he did in college here, so you can see how many targets he was getting with, that, T Higgins on the other side, five landing. I wouldn't say landing spots, but more of a nice, friendly place for him to accomplish some of these, yards and touchdowns and all those fancy stuff. So yes, a fantasy nice team for him to land on, and we
Yeah.
gave you a little bit more of a dynasty per overall on someone like Jaylin Noel. So yeah,
Noel,
yep,
Noel, Skull, Cole, whatever the hell you
yep,
want to call him.
yep.
He's
I get.
he's coming to a draft near you.
Yep, I gave you the ceiling,
Or
mid,
PSA.
and floor for Noel as well. So I mean, those are some. Hopefully, you guys, a lot of people will be drafting him in your dynasty drafts. I will probably be drafting him too, but I know there's a lot of guys I like, and I'm gonna be like torn if I have to take somebody else over him, or So there's a lot of guys that we covered, and I'm gonna be torn
He's
against
making a
because
list. He's checking it twice.
be checking it
Going to
three
find
times.
out who's drafted. I lost it after that, but
Yeah.
like, we got to come up with a jingle for that. But
Damn right we do. But other than that, guys, we're gonna get this video wrapped up here. Make sure you follow us on the X. Follow our podcast on Spotify, Apple Pods, and wherever you find your podcasts available to you guys. Make sure you guys follow our Discord. Jump into Discord. We're trying to keep that active, and I try to at least post some stuff over there on the Insta. When we trying to dive into some of these guys. So give us a follow over there as well. Um, but yeah, I think that's about it. I think that's gonna wrap up our journeyman of Jalen Noel, and I guess we will catch you guys on our next one. So other than that, let's see you guys on our next spotlight, and
ooh, who's
see.
it gonna be? Who's it gonna be?
From Out of Rhythm, I'm Jamie, and that's Eli. We'll catch you guys on the next one. Laters.